Captain Samuel Wright of the Earth exploration vessel, Horizon, stared at the blinking light on his console. The ship's communication system had picked up something unusual, a signal that didn't match any known human pattern. "What do you make of this, Olivia?" he asked his communications officer. Lieutenant Olivia Clark adjusted her headset and frowned. "It's repeating every 12 seconds, sir. Definitely not random space noise. And..." She paused, listening more carefully. "I think it's a distress call." The Horizon had been exploring the outer edges of the solar system, beyond Neptune's orbit. They weren't supposed to find anything out here except ice, rock, and emptiness. Yet here they were, receiving what seemed like a call for help from the void. "All stop," Samuel ordered. "Pinpoint that signal's location." Within minutes, the crew had traced the signal to what appeared to be a small, damaged spacecraft drifting about 40,000 kilometers away. Its design was like nothing any human had ever built, sleek, with curves that seemed to flow into each other, and made of a material that reflected light in unusual patterns. "Is anyone seeing what I'm seeing?" asked Rick Johnson, the ship's pilot, his voice barely above a whisper. The bridge fell silent as the reality set in. They were looking at definitive proof that humanity was not alone in the universe. Captain Wright broke the silence. "Send a response on all frequencies. Let them know we're coming to help." Some of the crew exchanged nervous glances. "Sir," said Security Chief Diana Mason, "we don't know who or what is out there. This could be dangerous." Samuel nodded. "Noted, but that's a small craft in distress. If they wanted to harm us, they'd have sent something bigger." He stood up from his chair. "Prepare a rescue team. I'll lead it myself." 4 hours later, Samuel floated through the airlock of the alien vessel, tethered to the Horizon by a safety line. Behind him came Dr. Peter Kim, the ship's medical officer, and Chief Engineer Maria Lopez. The interior of the alien craft was dimly lit with a soft blue glow. The air was breathable, but had a sweet, unfamiliar scent. They moved carefully through curved corridors until they reached what appeared to be the control room. There, slumped in seats designed for bodies very different from human ones, were 3 aliens. They were humanoid but clearly not human, tall and slender with 4-fingered hands, skin that shimmered with a silvery blue tone, and large almond-shaped eyes. 2 appeared unconscious. The third raised its head weakly as the humans entered. Dr. Kim moved forward slowly, medical scanner in hand. "I think they're dehydrated, maybe suffering from oxygen deprivation. Their life support systems are failing." The conscious alien watched them with evident surprise, making soft clicking sounds that must have been speech. "We need to get them back to our ship," Samuel decided. "Maria, see if you can stabilize their systems. Peter, prepare to move the injured." Over the next several hours, the human crew worked tirelessly to save the aliens, who they later learned called themselves Ardelians. Their ship had suffered a catastrophic failure while studying the outer solar system, and they had been slowly dying for days. The Ardelian leader, who introduced himself as Keeler, was astonished by the humans' willingness to help completely unknown beings. "Your species did not hesitate," Keeler told Samuel through a hastily configured translation device. "You risked yourselves for strangers. This is unusual in our experience." Samuel shrugged. "It's what anyone would do." Keeler's large eyes blinked slowly. "No, Captain Wright. It is not what anyone would do. And it is why I must now tell you something important." He gestured toward the stars visible through the Horizon's viewport. "You are not alone in this galaxy. There are many civilizations joined in what we call the Galactic Confederation. And after today, I believe humanity deserves to be introduced to them." Samuel felt his heart race as he realized what was happening. This wasn't just first contact with one alien species. It was humanity's invitation to join a community of stars. "We accept," he said simply. What Samuel couldn't know was that not all members of this confederation would welcome humans with open arms. Some would see Earth as primitive, others as a potential threat. But the simple act of rescuing strangers in need had opened a door that could never be closed again. Humanity had just taken its first step into a much larger universe. 6 months after the rescue of the Ardelian ship, Earth had changed forever. Diplomatic relations with the Galactic Confederation had been established, with embassies opening in major cities around the world. The initial excitement and wonder had given way to a mix of hope and worry as humans began to understand just how advanced and complicated their new galactic neighbors were. Lieutenant Lisa Rice sat in a meeting room at the United Nations Confederation Liaison Office in Geneva, watching the 7 alien representatives with careful eyes. After years of military intelligence work, she had been selected to join Earth's Defense Coordination Team. Today was her first high-level briefing. "We have delayed this discussion to allow your species time to adjust," said Ambassador Keeler, the Ardelian whose rescue had started it all. His silvery blue skin caught the light as he gestured to a holographic display that appeared in the center of the table. "But we can wait no longer. There is a threat you must know about." The hologram showed what looked like a dark cloud moving through a star map. As Reyes watched, the cloud expanded, engulfing star system after star system. "This is the Void Collective," explained a bulky reptilian alien named Gorv. "They have waged war against the Confederation for over 300 of your Earth years." Admiral William Peters, head of Earth's newly formed Space Defense Force, leaned forward. "What exactly are they?" "Not what. Who," corrected a tall, thin alien with pale skin and large eyes. "The collective began as a single species, but they absorb others. They conquer worlds and forcibly integrate the inhabitants into their empire. Those who resist are eliminated." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "And they're heading toward Earth." The aliens exchanged glances. Keeler nodded slowly. "Our intelligence suggests your solar system will be targeted within 1 Earth year." The room fell silent. Finally, Admiral Peters spoke again. "Why tell us this now? Your technology is centuries ahead of ours. We can't possibly help you fight this enemy." Gorv made a sound that might have been a laugh. "True. By our standards, your weapons and ships are primitive. But your system sits at a strategic location. If Earth falls, 3 major Confederation worlds become vulnerable." Lisa didn't miss the implication. "So we're a buffer zone. You want us to slow them down while you prepare your real defenses." "That is one perspective," Keeler admitted. "But there is another reason. In our brief time observing humans, we have noted unusual qualities in your species. You approach problems differently than we do. This may prove valuable." Later that day, Lisa stood before a window in her office, looking out at Lake Geneva. Her mind was still processing the morning's revelations. "Lieutenant Reyes," a voice interrupted her thoughts. She turned to find Keeler standing in her doorway. "Ambassador," she acknowledged with a nod. "I sense you are troubled by our meeting," he said, entering the room. Lisa smiled without humor. "Finding out your planet is target practice for a galactic war machine tends to do that." "I did not tell the full truth earlier," Keeler said quietly. "The Confederation Council is divided on humanity. Many believe you are too unpredictable, too emotional to be true allies. They see Earth only as a convenient sacrifice." "And what do you believe?" Lisa asked. "I believe that 6 months ago, humans rescued my crew when they could have ignored our distress call. I believe your species routinely does things that my people would consider irrational, risking many for the sake of few, valuing principles over survival." Keeler's large eyes fixed on hers. "The Void Collective has defeated many advanced civilizations, Lieutenant. Perhaps what we need is not another advanced civilization, but something different entirely." Lisa considered his words. "So I'm supposed to figure out how to defend Earth against an enemy that's beaten everyone else, using technology we barely understand." "Yes," Keeler said simply. "And in doing so, perhaps show the Confederation what humans are truly capable of." As the alien left her office, Lisa turned back to the window. Somewhere beyond the blue sky and scattered clouds, an enemy was coming. an enemy that had never encountered humans before. And maybe, just maybe, that would be their mistake. Dr. Kevin Powell unlocked the door to his suburban home in Colorado, balancing grocery bags in one arm. Behind him followed a tall figure who had to duck to enter the doorway. "Please make yourself comfortable, Zethrel," Kevin said, setting down the bags. "I know it's not as fancy as your quarters on the Confederation ship." The alien called Zethrel looked around the living room with 6 golden eyes that blinked in sequence. His purple skin had a slight shimmer, and the crest on his head rose and fell as he breathed. "This dwelling is adequate," he said through his translator device. "I appreciate your government allowing me to observe human life directly." Kevin smiled. As a cultural anthropologist, he had jumped at the chance to host an alien scientist for the cultural exchange program. What he hadn't expected was to get Zethrel, one of the Confederation's top experts on warfare and species analysis. "I'm making pasta for dinner," Kevin said. "Would you like to help? Or is cooking too boring for someone who studies warfare?" Zethrel tilted his head. "Actually, I find your food preparation methods quite fascinating. On my world, we consume nutrition capsules. The idea of preparing food as a daily ritual is strange." As they cooked, Kevin noticed the alien watching his every move carefully. "You seem interested in more than just the cooking," he observed. "Correct," Zethrel admitted. "I am studying how humans approach tasks. You frequently pause to tell stories or make jokes. This seems inefficient, yet I notice it also creates what you call bonds between individuals." Kevin laughed. "That's just being human. We're social animals." Later that evening, they sat watching the news. A story came on about a local firefighter who had run into a burning building to save a child. "This behavior is common?" Zethrel asked, his crest rising in what Kevin had learned was surprise. "Common enough," Kevin replied. "People help each other. It's what we do." "But this human risked death for an unrelated juvenile," the alien said, clearly puzzled. "In most species, this would be considered evolutionarily unsound." Kevin thought about how to explain. "Humans don't always make decisions based on cold logic. Sometimes we act on emotion, on what feels right." "A weakness," Zethrel stated. "Is it?" Kevin challenged. "That weakness might be why we survived on Earth. We look out for each other." The next day, Kevin took Zethrel to visit a local elementary school where his friend Linda taught. The alien stood awkwardly in the corner as 28-year-olds stared at him with wide eyes. "Children," Linda explained. "Mr. Zethrel is from another planet, and he's here to learn about humans. Does anyone have questions?" A small boy raised his hand. "Are you scared to be so far from home?" The question clearly caught the alien off guard. "I do not experience fear in this context." "I would be scared," the boy said simply. "But it's okay. You can borrow my teddy bear if you get scared at night." Kevin watched as the serious alien scientist hesitantly accepted a worn stuffed bear from the child. Something in Zethrel's posture changed subtly. That evening, Zethrel sat in Kevin's living room, making notes on his device. "I observed many concerning behaviors today," he said. "Human children form attachments to inanimate objects. Adults make decisions based on feelings rather than facts. Your species focuses extensively on cooperation rather than competition." "And those are bad things?" Kevin asked. "They are vulnerabilities," Zethrel corrected. "The Void Collective targets psychological weaknesses. They exploit fear, break social bonds, create division." Kevin leaned forward. "And what if those weaknesses are actually strengths when used in the right way?" Zethrel's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. An interesting hypothesis, but not supported by evidence from previous conflicts. "Previous conflicts didn't involve humans," Kevin pointed out. The alien was quiet for a long moment. "No," he finally agreed. "They did not. Perhaps that is why I am here, to determine if humans truly are different, or if they will fall like all the others." Kevin didn't have an answer for that, But as he watched Zethral carefully place the borrowed teddy bear on a shelf rather than discarding it, he wondered if perhaps the alien was learning more than he realized. The red dust of Mars swirled around the New Olympus research station as Commander Grace Murphy looked at the blinking warning lights on her console. The outpost, home to 53 scientists and engineers, had been Earth's pride just 2 months ago. Now it might become its first battlefield. Unidentified vessels approaching from beyond orbit, reported Sergeant Joe Barnes, his voice steady despite the circumstances. 6 ships, much bigger than anything the Confederation has shown us. Grace knew what this meant. The Void Collective had arrived earlier than expected, and they had come to Mars first. "General alert," she ordered. "And send word to Earth. Tell them we have visitors." Outside, the Martian sky darkened as the collective ships descended. They were black, angular vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Grace had only 20 security personnel and basic weapons to defend the station. "Commander," the communication officer called, "we're receiving a message from the lid ship." The screen flickered to show a figure that looked almost human, but wrong in subtle ways. Its skin was gray, with metallic implants visible along its neck and temples. When it spoke, its voice had an unnatural harmony, as if many voices were speaking together. "This world is now claimed by the Void Collective. Surrender and accept integration, or be eliminated. You have 10 minutes to decide." The screen went dark. Grace looked around at her team. Options. "The Confederation reinforcements are hours away at best," said Chief Engineer Paul Rodriguez. "We don't have the firepower to fight those ships." "What about evacuating the civilians?" Grace asked. Paul shook his head. "The only shuttle that could reach Earth is still under repair. We'd need at least 2 days to get it working." Grace nodded slowly, making her decision. "Then we don't fight the ships. We fight for time." She turned to the station map displayed on the wall. "Paul, what's the status of those mining explosives your team was using to expand the underground labs?" 5 minutes later, as the collective ships landed around the station, Grace addressed everyone through the internal communication system. "This is Commander Murphy. I won't lie to you. We're in trouble. But I promise you this: no one gets left behind. We're going to show these aliens what happens when they pick a fight with humans on our home turf. Now everyone get to your positions." The Void Collective soldiers that emerged from the ships moved with perfect coordination. They carried weapons that glowed with strange energy and wore armor that seemed to blend with shadows. They expected an easy victory against the primitive humans. They were wrong. As the first wave approached the main entrance, explosive charges buried in the Martian soil detonated, creating a massive dust storm that blinded their sensors. From hidden positions, the station's security team fired conventional weapons that the aliens had not bothered to shield against, having expected energy weapons. Inside the station, civilians used their scientific equipment in ways never intended. Geological drills became weapons. Chemical labs produced smoke bombs and flash grenades. The station's solar array was rewired to create a massive electromagnetic pulse that temporarily disabled the aliens' advanced communications. Hour after hour, the humans fought with desperate creativity. They used the station's layout, designed to protect against the harsh Martian environment, as a defensive maze. They communicated using old radio frequencies the aliens weren't monitoring. When one section was overrun, they retreated to the next, making the collective pay for every meter. "We can't hold much longer," Joe reported to Grace, his face streaked with blood from a cut on his forehead. "They're adapting to our tactics." "We don't need much longer," Grace replied, helping a wounded scientist to safety. "Just a little more time." When Confederation ships finally arrived 15 hours later, they expected to find only ruins. Instead, they found something unprecedented: a human outpost, severely damaged but still standing, with survivors who had somehow held off a collective assault force 5 times their size. The alien commander, a tall Ardelian named Vexlor, found Grace treating wounded in what remained of the medical bay. "Impossible," he said, looking around at the determined faces of the survivors. "By every tactical calculation, you should have fallen within the first hour." Grace looked up from bandaging a burn wound, exhaustion clear on her face. "Never tell humans the odds, Commander. We tend not to listen." Alan Winters was not a soldier. Until 3 months ago, he had been designing solar power systems for remote communities. Now he found himself in a cavernous alien laboratory aboard the Confederation flagship, surrounded by technology he barely understood. "Pass me the neural scanner," said Mrel, a tentacled alien engineer who had been assigned as Alan's partner. Alan handed over what looked like a glowing blue orb. They were analyzing pieces of Void Collective technology recovered from the Mars attack. The lab was filled with engineers from 7 different species, all working to understand their enemy better. "I don't get it," Alan said, watching as Mrel connected the device to what they believed was a collective weapon. "If the Confederation has been fighting these guys for centuries, how come you don't understand their tech by now?" Mrel's tentacles rippled in what Alan had learned was their version of a shrug. "The collective adapts and evolves constantly. Each time we develop a defense, they change their approach. They seem to know exactly how each species thinks." Alan frowned. Something about that statement nagged at him. "Can I see the battle reports again? The ones from Mars and previous conflicts?" Later that night, Alan couldn't sleep. He sat in his small quarters, surrounded by holographic displays showing battle data from 100 different confrontations with the Void Collective. He noticed something odd. The Collective used distinctly different tactics against each alien species. Against the logical, hierarchical Ardelians, they disrupted command structures. Against the collective-minded Mrevans, they isolated individuals from their group consciousness. Every species faced attacks precisely tailored to exploit their psychological makeup. But at Mars, the Collective had seemed confused. Their tactics had shifted repeatedly, never quite finding the right approach. Alan grabbed his tablet and rushed through the quiet corridors to find Lieutenant Lisa Reyes, who had arrived on the flagship the day before. He found her in the strategy room, studying star maps. "Lieutenant, I think I found something," he said breathlessly. She looked up, surprised. "Mr. Winters, it's 3 a.m. Earth time. Look at this," he said, spreading his findings on the table. "The Collective doesn't just fight with technology. They wage psychological warfare specifically designed for each species they face." Lisa leaned forward, suddenly interested. "Go on." Every Confederation species evolved with highly specialized brain structures. The Ardelians have rigid thought patterns focused on hierarchy. The Mrevans think collectively but struggle with individual action. The Trell process emotions completely differently than we do. He pointed to brain scans of various aliens. The Collective exploits these specific traits in battle. "So what does this mean for us?" Lisa asked. Alan grinned. "They don't know how to fight us. Human brains are weird. We're adaptable generalists. We can think logically and emotionally. We function as individuals and in groups. We're creative under pressure in ways these other species aren't." Lisa slowly stood up, understanding dawning on her face. "So all these things the aliens have been calling our weaknesses are actually our strengths," Alan finished. "Our messy emotions, our social bonds, our seemingly irrational behaviors, they make us unpredictable to an enemy that wins by exploiting predictable psychology." The next morning, they presented their findings to the Confederation War Council. The alien commanders looked skeptical. "You suggest we should rely on human unpredictability?" asked General Vorks, a reptilian commander. "On emotions and social connections that have no place in warfare?" "With respect, General," Lisa replied, "they have every place in warfare against this enemy." The Mars defenders held out because they fought with creativity and adaptation that surprised the Collective. They fought for each other, not just for survival. Zephyral, who had been observing from the corner, stepped forward. "The human may be correct. During my time on Earth, I documented many behaviors I classified as weaknesses, their attachments, their hope in hopeless situations, their willingness to sacrifice for others. He paused. Yet these same traits made them resist the collective's standard tactics. Admiral William Peters, who represented Earth, stood up. The Void Collective is approaching Earth with their main invasion force. We have one chance to get this right. I propose we stop trying to make humans fight like the Confederation, and instead let us fight like humans. The council chamber erupted in argument, but Lisa caught Alan's eye across the room. For the first time since learning about the coming invasion, she felt something the Void Collective would never understand. Admiral Frank Ortega stood before the Joint Earth Confederation Command Center in the underground bunker beneath Geneva. Holographic displays showed the approaching Void Collective fleet, over 200 ships now entering the solar system. They'll reach Earth orbit in 3 days, he said to the gathered military leaders. Our plan is simple but unprecedented. The room was tense. Human generals sat beside alien commanders, an alliance born of desperation. Instead of fighting as separate forces, Frank continued, we're going to integrate human leaders into Confederation battle groups. Each of your advanced ships will have human commanding officers working alongside your own. The alien commanders shifted uncomfortably. General Orcs, the reptilian leader, hissed in disapproval. You expect us to place our superior technology in human hands, based on a theory about psychological warfare. Based on evidence, corrected Lisa Reyes, now promoted to captain after her work with Alan Winters. Mars proved it. The collective's standard tactics don't work against humans the same way they work against your species. Hilar, the Ardelian who had first contacted humanity, stepped forward. I support this plan. My people have lost 23 worlds to the collective. We must try something new. After hours of debate, the Joint Command reluctantly agreed. Human officers were paired with alien crews, creating mixed battle groups unlike anything seen before in the galaxy. 2 days later, Captain Lisa Rice stood on the bridge of the Confederation destroyer Starlight, feeling out of place among its alien technology and crew. The ship's original commander, a tall Ardelian named Terex, watched her with obvious doubt. Your tactical officers will follow my orders, Lisa asked, settling into the command chair that had been modified to fit a human. They will, Terex said stiffly, though many question the wisdom of this arrangement. Lisa nodded. That's fair. I question it myself sometimes. She smiled slightly. But doubt is a very human trait, Commander. We question everything, especially ourselves. It keeps us flexible. As the combined fleet took up defensive positions around Earth, Lisa addressed the mixed crew through the ship's communication system. I know many of you have doubts about serving under a human commander. I understand that. By your standards, humans are primitive, emotional, and unpredictable. But against the Void Collective, those traits might be exactly what we need. She paused, looking at the alien faces watching her. The collective expects you to think and fight in certain ways. They don't know what to expect from us. So we're going to show them something new. Aliens and humans fighting together, combining your advanced technology with our adaptability. The Void Collective attacked at dawn. Their black ships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, immediately launching their assault. They targeted communication systems first, trying to isolate Confederation ships from each other, a tactic that had worked countless times before. But this time, human commanders had anticipated this move. They had prepared backup communication methods, including old-fashioned radio frequencies the collective didn't bother to jam. When the primary networks went down, the human-led ships continued to coordinate seamlessly. On the Starlight's bridge, Lisa watched as the collective forces adjusted their approach, using psychological warfare techniques that had devastated Ardelian forces in previous battles. The enemy broadcast signals designed to trigger fear responses in Ardelian brains. My crew is being affected, Terex warned, his own voice strained. These signals bypass our logical thinking. Switch positions, Lisa ordered. Let the human crew members take the lead while your people support from secondary stations. As the battle progressed, the collective seemed increasingly confused by the defense patterns. Their carefully calculated psychological attacks met unexpected responses. Ships led by humans took risks the aliens would never consider, executed maneuvers that seemed illogical but worked brilliantly. They're adapting, Lisa noted, watching the enemy formation shift. But so are we. She opened a channel to Admiral Ortega's command ship. Admiral, they're starting to figure out our patterns. We need to be even more unpredictable. Agreed, Captain, came the reply. Execute contingency plan wildcard. And rise. Good luck. Lisa smiled grimly as she relayed the new orders. The Void Collective was about to learn that humans were at their most dangerous when backed into a corner. The battle for Earth entered its third day. The combined human-alien fleet had suffered heavy losses, but had also inflicted significant damage on the Void Collective forces. The space around Earth was filled with debris from destroyed ships and the flashes of weapons fire. On the bridge of the damaged Starlight, Captain Lisa Rice wiped blood from a cut on her forehead. The ship had taken multiple hits but was still fighting. Status report, she called out. Main weapons at 40% capacity, reported the human tactical officer. Shields failing on the port side. Commander Terex, who had developed a grudging respect for his human captain, added, 3 more collective ships approaching from Sector 7. Lisa nodded grimly. They had fought well, but the collective still outnumbered them. She was about to order a tactical retreat when all communication systems suddenly went dead. What's happening? She demanded. The alien communication officer's face showed fear. It's their final weapon, the Mindbreaker. They only use it when victory is uncertain. Across the entire fleet, both human and alien crews felt it, a wave of psychic energy designed to crush their will to fight. It carried feelings of hopelessness, fear, and despair directly into their minds. The effect on the alien crew members was immediate. Many collapsed at their stations, overwhelmed by the precisely targeted psychic attack. The Ardelians, Mrevans, and other species had no defense against this weapon that exploited their specific brain structures. Lisa felt it too, a cold weight pressing down on her thoughts, telling her to surrender, to give up. But something strange was happening. While the aliens were incapacitated, the human crew members, though affected, remained functional. It hurts, said the human navigator, but I can still work through it. Lisa realized what was happening. The psychic attack was designed for alien minds, not the chaotic, emotional human brain. And more importantly, humans were responding to the attack in an unexpected way. Instead of breaking under the assault, human determination was growing stronger. As the pressure increased, so did their resolve to resist it. Lisa staggered to the communication station and manually activated the emergency backup system. She broadcast to all ships with human crew members. This is Captain Reyes. I know you feel their attack. I feel it too. But they don't understand what they're dealing with. When humans are pushed to our limits, we don't break. We push back harder. Right now, your alien crewmates need you. Remember why we fight. Not just for survival, but for each other. Across the fleet, human crew members helped their alien colleagues. They took over critical stations and continued the fight when their alien counterparts couldn't. And something remarkable happened. The human resistance began to shield the aliens nearby, their emotional strength providing a buffer against the psychic assault. On the collective command ship, the leaders were confused. Their ultimate weapon, which had broken countless civilizations before, was not working as expected. Admiral Ortega, seeing the opportunity, directed the human-led ships into a bold formation. All ships, focus fire on their command vessel. Everything you've got now. The collective never expected this counterattack during what should have been their moment of victory. Their command ship, unprotected while focusing on maintaining the psychic assault, took critical damage from the combined barrage. As the collective command ship exploded, the psychic pressure vanished. Across the fleet, alien crew members recovered, astonished to find the battle had continued during their incapacitation. The remaining collective ships, now leaderless and facing an enemy that had withstood their ultimate weapon, began to retreat. On the Starlight's bridge, Tyrix looked at Lisa with new understanding. "How did you resist? That weapon has broken the will of every species it has ever been used against." Lisa smiled tiredly. "Because that's what humans do, Commander. When everything seems hopeless, when logic says we should give up, we find strength in each other. We hope. We endure. We fight on." As Earth's defenders regrouped, word spread throughout the Confederation fleet. The supposedly primitive humans had withstood the Void Collective's most powerful weapon, not with technology or physical strength, but with the emotional resilience the aliens had dismissed as weakness. The Confederation Council would later call it the human factor, the unexpected discovery that humanity's greatest strength was not in their weapons or their intelligence, but in their hearts.